Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so let's hang out together and make some cute chocolate covered strawberries. These plushies are all part of my new pattern that has 3 different sizes of strawberries and includes instructions to make them all chocolate covered. This one ended up being my favorite out of the million that I made, so I wanted to kind of remake it with a little bit of different colors. And the whole pattern is no sew other than the details if you want to add them, like the little seeds or the chocolate drizzle or a smile. Here are some of the types of yarn that I'm going to be using today. You can use any type of yarn that you'd like, but do keep in mind if you use smaller yarn, the strawberry is going to come out smaller. And if you use bigger yarn, you could make a giant strawberry. Some of my pattern testers did use Sweet Snuggles from Michaels. I think their strawberries came out so cute and they were bigger than mine. It's a simple and easy plushie pattern, so you should totally experiment with different types of yarn if you'd like to. I personally like to add eyes and a smile to the larger strawberries. I'm going to be using this cotton worsted weight yarn. And for the eyes, I'm going to be using 25mm kawaii style eyes that I painted myself. Be aware that you're going to need something to help you get the backs on because it's really hard to do. I'm going to be using my normal 6.5mm inline crochet hook, and you might want to have 3 stitch markers because we are going to be working in the front loop and back loop. If you like my videos and want to support me as an artist, you can always pick up a PDF copy of my patterns or join the Crafty Cat Collective over on my Patreon. I don't know why, but I always change my mind about what yarn I'm going to use. Instead of the Premier White, I'm going to be using this pink burnout blanket, mostly because it's really soft and I like the color. So we're going to start this pattern off basically how we start all my patterns. Make a magic circle and then make 8 single crochets in the magic circle. I have a few different reasons why I always use 8 as a starting number instead of 6. Initially I did it because when I make my cats, I like to do an X for a nose, and if you start with 8 you can evenly distribute the X. And the other reason is it does make a flatter and larger surface area, and I don't know why, I just don't really like the number 6. I don't like the way it looks. Anyway, for row 2, we're just going to increase around, which is placing 2 single crochets in each stitch to double our numbers. It should be just a normal flat circle. I did want to ask you guys if you'd be interested in a tutorial for my cat plushie. I think the 1-year anniversary of when I released the pattern just passed, and I'm currently moving to a new studio, so I thought it might be really fun for my first video in my new home to be a tutorial for my cat pattern. But I wasn't sure if anyone's interested because everyone basically has the pattern already, and there's tons of YouTube videos for other people's cats, so I don't know. If anything, I think I might make the spotted face cat with the different colored ears and feet because that one's my favorite. Leave me a comment if that's something you'd be interested in. Other than making my new patterns, I really enjoy making YouTube tutorials, and I'm trying to focus more on it because I like the idea of my patterns being more accessible to everyone. Hopefully you were single crocheting around for 2 rows while I was saying random stuff. It's helpful to always use one of your stitch markers to mark your progress, because we're going in the round and not row by row, so it can get a little confusing sometimes. I always mark the last stitch of each row. So now we're going to go back to doing a slight increase. We're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase, which is the 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and we're going to repeat that 8 times. So basically we just made the little tip of the strawberry, and now we're going to flare out and then go up by single crocheting around for 1 row. This pattern is pretty simple. It's just a row of increase, a row of single crochet, increase, single crochet, and alternating between them so that we have more of a gradual increase and not just a big flat circle. So here I'm just pointing out what the pattern is going to be with the row of increase, row of single crochet, and it should be making a really nice cone shape. And now for the next row, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase in the next stitch and repeat that 8 times. Sorry if the audio in my videos never sounds good. I am trying different things. I have a new mic cover today to see if that helps, but I am sitting in a completely empty room, so it might be a little echoey. I already packed all of my studio stuff, all of my yarn, everything into one of those moving pods, and they're coming to take it away soon. I'll be without yarn for 10 days until it gets to my new home, but I thought I'd keep one skein and make a shawl tutorial when all of my stuff is traveling. For row 8, we're going to single crochet around, and I actually really like this pattern because it's super quick, but it makes a decent sized plushie. And there we go, it's looking good. And now we'll do our last increase row with 3 single crochets and then an increase, repeated 8 times. After I finish up editing this video, I was gonna make like a little short video crochet with me for the strawberry. I should kind of time it. I've seen people do those videos and they're cool. I wonder if it will take like 15 or 20 minutes to make one. After you finish this row, you can just single crochet around for 4 rows. I am more than aware that I do have a Pine Barrens accent and I can't say strawberry. I also can't say water, but you guys are gonna have to let it slide this time because I tried saying it normally and I just sound silly. So here's probably the most complicated part of this pattern, but it's not even hard. We're gonna work in the front loops for this row and then the back loops for the next row. So really quickly, before we even start, put a stitch marker in the back loop of the first and last stitch. And this will help us during the next row find where we're gonna start and end. And that way we won't have any like random extra stitches that get in there. So keep going around with your chocolate color and just do a front loop only slip stitch around. And if you're using a different type of yarn, or even if you just feel like the slip stitches are too tight, you can just do these as single crochets. I just like the slip stitches because I feel like it's a smaller overlap and it looks a little more seamless. I tried doing front loop only single crochets when I first had the idea of making it, but I preferred the slip stitch, but you can decide what you want to do. This is our last row using the chocolate color, so once we make it all the way around, we can cut our end and fasten off. You don't have to leave a super long tail like I did. And then I just pull the end to the inside of the plushie. And then that first marked stitch is where we're gonna start with the berry color. So you can take the stitch marker out and insert your hook. And then pull through with the berry color and make a slip stitch. We're gonna completely ignore that slip stitch and act like it doesn't exist. And make a single crochet that does count in the same stitch. And now we're just gonna work our way around, working 1 single crochet in each of the back loops that we skipped from the row before. And I think it's best like not overthink it and fight with it. I kind of just like push with my hook and see where it goes, and it usually goes through the back loop. If you're trying to look and find it with your eyes, you're probably not gonna be able to see it, but you might be able to feel it because it's fuzzy yarn. And then as we're going around, you have that last stitch marked, so you know you're exactly where you need to be. And don't be scared if there's a little gap. We're just gonna keep going in the round, and when you go to tie the 2 ends together on the inside, if your hole is really big, you could just use the end of your berry color to kind of like sew it closed if you wanted to. I was just showing that the first stitch of row 16 is a single crochet. So we skip that slip stitch and go into the top of the first normal single crochet. And for this row, we're gonna do 3 single crochets and then an invisible decrease, which is pulling up the front loop only from the next 2 stitches and then just making a normal single crochet, and that turns 2 stitches into 1. So this is kind of gonna bring the top of the strawberry in a little. Now I'm like super self-conscious every time I say strawberry because I don't notice that type of thing until I hear it back on the recording or my husband points it out to me. So I like how clean the front loop only slip stitch looks, and I was even considering doing like surface crochet for this pattern, kind of like I did with my frosted sugar cookie. But I ended up not doing it because it's like an extra step, and the front loop only slip stitch looks really similar. Now is a great time to stop and add the eyes if you want to add them. I count up from the bottom to row 10, and then I put my eyes like right between row 10 and 11 with 4 visible stitches apart. You kind of should be aware of the spacing of the eyes, because if you want to add a smile, you kind of want it to be in the center, so just be aware of that. And with these sinker eyes, it always annoys me when you put them in and then like they look super squished and like down there, but once you stuff the plushie and there's like some tension pushing them forward, they look normal. And yeah, I'm just showing where I'm planning on adding the smile, but I kind of don't want to add it until the plushie is stuffed, because the shape is going to change. So go ahead and stuff your plushie, and you can keep stuffing it after each row because we're going to keep decreasing. So just like the last row, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an invisible decrease 8 times. And then for the next row, 1 single crochet, invisible decrease, repeated 8 times. Now we're in the home stretch, it's almost done. I really like this burnout blanket, the mystical kind, because it's so soft It's like the softest burnout blanket one. And I think the variated colors look really nice and just add an extra detail to the plushie. I've been using it a lot lately, but it's sold out everywhere. So I stumbled upon a little bit left at Michael's in Baltimore. Sorry. So now is basically your last chance to stuff the plushie. So I make sure stuffing is all the way down at the bottom, and then I kind of want to like stuff it out a little just so it keeps that strawberry shape and doesn't look too much like a turnip. And once it's all stuffed and ready to go, we're just going to invisible decrease around. And when I do that, I usually pull after each stitch just to make sure like it's fully closed. Because sometimes if you're not pulling after each stitch, or if your tension isn't really tight, you can get like holes on the top. But don't finish your last stitch, because we're going to switch over to green to make the stem. And the stem might be a little tricky for some people. So for the PDF pattern, I did include like instructions to crochet the stem separately and then sew it on. But for the bigger strawberry, it's usually easy to crochet it on. It's just like the smaller strawberry where like it's pretty tight at the end and might be an issue. So single crochet around with your stem color. There should be 8 single crochets for this row. And now we're going to work in the front loop and back loop again. But first chain 8, and then we're basically going to make a front loop only single crochet. And then chain 8, and then a front loop only single crochet. And repeat that 8 times to make the little loopy leaves on the top. That was really hard to say. And now here's the tricky part. Like, it's basically impossible to see the back loops. They're like inside the plushie. So I just follow the loop around, and then where they meet, you can kind of stick your hook in and you will find the back loop. But again, it's like you don't need to see it. Just let your hook find it and you'll be fine. Just make 8 single crochets around. It's little and the top. I don't think anyone will notice if it's a little off. At least that's what I tell myself. That's the weird part about no-sew or like low-sew patterns. Sometimes you think making it low-sew would make it easier, but sometimes it makes it like a little harder. Especially for like brand new crocheters, I feel like this might be a little hard. It might be easier to crochet it separately and just sew it on. But now for the last row, we're just going to single crochet around just to bring the stem up a little, and then you can fasten off. I do leave like a longer tail for this because we're going to sew the plushie closed. And to do that, I just loop around the front loop only of each stitch, and then you can pull it tight and it'll close the hole and look really nice. And then I just go on and I tie a knot 3 times. So that I can pull it inside the plushie and hide it and no one will see it. Okay, so we've reached the optional section of the pattern where we can add different details like little seeds or chocolate details or a smile. I'm going to start by adding my smile. I'm going to use the cotton worsted weight yarn, and I just start at the top and go through right to like the center between the eyes and loop around 1 or 2 stitches to make a little smile. I think looks good. And then I use this, but you don't have to. This glue is super permanent. If you mess up, it's never coming off ever. So I use like the tiniest bit on the back of the cotton thread, and then I press it down with my thumb. It kind of merges with the yarn so it doesn't really stand out too much. And now I'm going to show how I like to sew on the seeds. But I know you're probably saying like, why am I sewing on seeds on a chocolate covered strawberry? It's because I think they look like little hearts and cute. I don't know, they could be little sprinkles or something. So I just insert my hook and go up and around the stitch and then back through where I started, and it makes a cute little heart detail if you use your imagination. And then I always end right where I started, so I can just tie the 2 ends together and hide the knot inside the plushie. Yay, and there we go, we did it. We made a cute little chocolate covered strawberry, and I love the normal strawberry too. He reminds me of the guy from it's cloudy with a chance of meatballs or something. I watched it with my daughter. But he's super cute. Or he could be from Hey Bear. She used to love that when she was a little baby. I hope you guys loved the video and made a really cute strawberry. I want to take a second to thank all of the members of the Crafty Cat Collective, which is my Patreon. I appreciate your kindness and support, and it's been really cool getting to know a lot of you. I feel like I have crochet friends from like all over the world. A lot of people did reach out about the snail mail section of the Patreon, so I am gonna work on it, and I figured out there is a way to do it. I just have to set my mind to it and take an afternoon to set it all up and figure out what I'm actually gonna include and how much it'll be. Obviously I don't want to like lose money doing it, but at the same time I don't want to make it expensive because I love my Patreon members and I like seeing other people using the supplies I make. So I'll try to make it a deal, but because of that I'll probably only be able to offer it to like Americans because I'll have to cover the cost of shipping. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. If you couldn't tell. I can't wait to have a bunch of pen pals I get to send stuff to every month. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated about what's coming next. I'll definitely work on a shawl video while all my supplies are in transit, and hopefully they don't lose the entire pod with like every single thing I've ever owned. We're not gonna think about it. We're gonna be happy and crochet a shawl video. And then I'll definitely make a video renovating my new studio because it's pretty cool, but it is like an old house and a tiny bit yucky. But that's okay. I have a vision and we'll fix it up together. I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.